Welcome to the Intimate Marriage Podcast, where I teach educated, successful couples how to have incredible, passionate relationships so that you can stop compromising and start feeling fully alive in your relationship. I'm Alexandra Stockwell, aka the Intimacy Doctor. I'm a physician, a relationship and intimacy coach, and I'm an intimate marriage expert. My husband and I have been married for 26 years. We have 4 children and full professional lives, and we've created an amazing marriage. I've shown hundreds of couples how to do so as well. So if you want to deepen your understanding of your own relationship and learn to access new heights of emotional, sensual, and erotic intimacy, you're in the right place. I will show you how. Now, let's dive in. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while now about something which is really complex, multidimensional, easy to ignore, and also impossible to ignore. So, how's that for an introduction? If you are a regular listener to my podcast, I think you're going to recognize some of the things that I've said before while I say some things that I've really never said before. And if you're new to my podcast, a warm welcome. This is a fine place to start. So let's go back to the Joneses, the proverbial Joneses, in a neighborhood in the 1950s where he gets his briefcase and goes off to work, and she stays home, making sure that the house is orderly and dinner is ready, and she's brushed her hair and freshened up before he gets in the door. Obviously, there are all kinds of people living specifically in the United States who did not have a life that I've just represented. But for many, many, many couples in many neighborhoods across the country, that was a reality. And I want to talk to a way that these ideas have evolved in the culture, and there's been a kind of a resurgence as well. My own grandmother did not stay home and clean house and cook dinner. However, she was a French teacher. She loved teaching and parlez-vous français and being able to be in the classroom interacting with high school students, all in the context of speaking the language she loved. And my grandfather had an Ethan Allen furniture store, which he actually innovated some really fascinating ways. For example, in those days, you'd have all of the rooms with couches in them and all of the rooms with dining tables. And he innovated, at least that's how the family lore goes. He innovated creating rooms that was a bedroom and was a dining room. And so basically creating home environments in the business. What I really mean to say is that he was very devoted to his business, and he knew that his fabulous wife would really be an asset on the job. And he asked her to leave her teaching career and join him and oversee accessories and various elements of the business, meaning accessories to a home, vases, artwork, lamps. These were the things that she came to specialize in because she said, yes, she would do that. And I never discussed this with my grandmother, but her daughter, my mother, always felt that she gave up her own calling, her own purpose in order to serve her husbands in a way that was very common in the 1950s. Then came the 1960s with a whole reorganization of gender. Men started having long hair. Women claimed their role in the workforce. I know that I'm generalizing, that if you really care about these things, pretty much anything I'm saying is incomplete, but I'm just mapping out the trends. Anyway, here we are in the 2020s. The vast majority of women work, have a great deal of work to do. Men work, although there certainly are more stay-at-home dads than there ever used to be. I don't have any numbers handy. And what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a man is no longer as clear-cut as it used to be. Of course, in certain circles, gender roles are taught with a lot of specificity and resonance in history of the 1950s. But by and large, it's not so easy to know how to be a good man anymore, nor is it so easy how to be a whole woman, motivated, ambitious, nurturing, attractive, and getting dinner ready. One of the things that has emerged in the realm of relationships and personal growth, it hasn't just emerged, but there's been a huge resurgence and expansion, is in what's often referred to as polarity or masculine-feminine dynamics, where it is a man's role to lead, to have the vision, to make certain decisions and really guide the relationship to where they both want to go. And it is her role to develop softness and receptivity and to follow and support and take long baths and be, quote, in her feminine, connected to beauty and sensuality, and really cultivate her capacity for being, while he really is cultivating ever more success in purposeful doing. Again, this is not comprehensive, but if you are interested in this and you look around, there are all kinds of authorities sharing some version of what I've just said. And what I want to say is that at a superficial level, it is really helpful and fantastic and creates more sensation and erotic chemistry. And at a deeper level, it goes completely against all of the fantastic, long-lasting benefits of uncompromising intimacy, of being fully self-expressed and authentic and allowing yourself to be who you truly are with your partner, which in turn creates incredible, passionate intimacy. So let me explain what I mean. And in the show notes, I'm going to refer to a few other podcast episodes to flesh out my communication. So first of all, if you're unfamiliar with what I mean by uncompromising intimacy, you can look in the show notes for the link to the podcast that details that. But just putting it simply, uncompromising intimacy is where you learn how to be who you really are with your partner. You don't compartmentalize certain parts of yourself, find it impossible to express what you really want, how you really feel, so as not to make your partner uncomfortable. So there's a lot more to say about that. And if you're unfamiliar with my view of uncompromising intimacy, you can listen to that podcast, or you can buy my book, which is called Uncompromising Intimacy. In fact, also in the show notes, I'll put a link where you can download the first chapter in order to decide if you'd like to read the rest of it. Another podcast that I did before is on the 5 love languages, because I believe that if your relationship is in a really challenging time, if the two of you feel disconnected, you can't get in sync, and one or both of you just generally feels unseen and hurt, then by all means, take a quiz or otherwise identify what your love language is, the 5 love languages being quality time, words of affirmation, touch, acts of service, and gifts. Identify what yours is, identify what your partner's is, and then adjust your behaviors accordingly so that you can express love in a way that your partner can receive it. However, that is just the beginning of really creating long-lasting, luscious intimacy. That is essentially helping you go from bad to good, helping you reconnect. But from there, ideally, the goal is that you be able to receive love on any channel it's given to you, and that you feel as expressed and gratified expressing your love on any channel as well, because that is what allows us to continually expand in our humanity and in discovering new realms of intimacy with our beloved. So I've already shared about that in these other podcast episodes, but I wanted to bring those in by way of explaining why I think that masculine feminine polarity teachings are just unbelievably restrictive. So if you just are not connecting, if there's no erotic chemistry, if there's no sexual turn on, and you're wondering how to stoke that fire, how to find one another again, the masculine feminine polarity training is going to be a great service to you, because anytime you put attention on your relationship, anytime you bring more intention and attention to how you are being with one another, it's going to create some incredible results. But the problem with using those teachings, if they don't feel native to you, is that you're basically taking on a role which is not who you authentically are. Let me tell you about my client. I'm going to call her Suzanne. When I started coaching Suzanne and her husband, she was very hesitant to really even participate. She was kind of doing it as a favor to him, because it turned out that in his wanting to really help their marriage and help things heat up between them and be more intimate emotionally and otherwise, he had read all these books, because there are very many books written, which basically teach that women need to be soft and receptive, and men need to be strong and lead. And this is true in all kinds of religious teachings. This is true in woo-woo New Age teachings. I mean, this whole idea is found in a lot of different places which otherwise don't have that much in common. Anyway, he had read these books and shared what he discovered with her. And so she was doing the coaching as a favor to him, but really wasn't bought in until I said something and she responded by saying, "But I don't really want to be all soft. Like, that's not who I am." And I said, "No, of course not. You are an amazing, accomplished, ambitious woman. You're totally successful at what you do and how you live your life. You are strong. You are a leader. I would never coach you to give that up, because that's basically asking you to be someone who you're not." And I watched Suzanne relax, because she really felt in a dilemma of having to decide between being who she really is and having a great marriage because everything she was exposed to indicated that it was either or. And she really, really, really wanted a great marriage, but not at the cost of becoming someone different than who she actually is. And as soon as I said, no, you be who you are, that's the person that he fell in love with, that's the person you are. Like, I would never ask you to be anything other than who you are, because authenticity is one of the foundational elements in creating passion that lasts a long time. So would you like to expand your range and be more open to what's happening and enjoy your experiences more than you have been? Great. I would love to support you in doing that, but not in any way in exchange for being the strong, incredible woman you are. And I want to say that Suzanne's husband was sitting there and he just started glowing and smiling and feeling so good because he wanted the benefits in their relationship, but he didn't want her to become some soft, like just a totally different kind of woman. That's not who he built his life with. And I've been thinking about this topic actually for about a year, wondering how I wanted to address it on the podcast. And interestingly, I came across a post that someone did basically saying, playing a role attracts people who like the role, not you. Actually, the whole quote, which is from Serdar Hararovich, whom I'm going to be interviewing soon so you can hear more of his views on this. Using masculine/feminine stuff to attract a partner can be a form of low self-worth. Playing a role attracts people who like the role, not you. You deserve better than that. And that is something that I completely agree with. So if you've been exposed to masculine-feminine polarity and you've implemented it in your relationship and it helped create some erotic chemistry, great. But don't stay there. Learn how to be all of who you are, because as soon as you're sacrificing aspects of yourself, you are preventing connection in your marriage or in your committed relationship, because connection is diminished when you disconnect and essentially excommunicate some aspect of yourself because it doesn't belong. You either are disconnected with yourself and or disconnected with your partner. I think of this actually very similarly to how I used to think about people who wanted to lose weight and improve their diet when I was practicing medicine, because there's all kinds of research about all the different ways of eating, whether it's keto, paleo, vegan, plant-based, Mediterranean. Not a lot of research, but I'll just mention eat right for your blood type. Like, there are all these different ways. And the fact is that if you're eating the standard American diet and you implement any one of the diets I named and many others, you will be healthier and you are likely to lose weight. But that does not mean that all these diets are equivalent in terms of long-term health and vitality, even though any one of them will do to improve from the standard American diet and eating McDonald's all the time. Similarly, if things are kind of flat or non-existent in your sex life, then learning about and implementing the teachings of erotic masculine-feminine polarity teachings is going to help you reconnect and have some beautiful experiences. But in terms of long term, having a really fabulous relationship where you're both fully expressed and neither one of you feels like you're playing a role with one another, unless, of course, you enjoy role play as a thing with a beginning and an end. You are restricting how much you can grow together and how intense and widespread the erotic energy can become. Because truly, the hottest thing is you being who you really are and allowing your partner to join you there. So I'm super curious what you think about this. I do want to tell you that once I address this issue in coaching Suzanne and her husband, she has had so much fun learning that actually she really enjoys all kinds of sensual experiences and all kinds of things that previously she thought of as being too feminine for her. She really does enjoy them when it's not, instead of being the ambitious, incredible, strong leader that she is. And my hope for you is if you have gotten soft and more traditionally feminine, and you want to expand into being more ambitious, more purposeful, and doing more, please go for it. And if you're someone who has mastered doing and getting things done, and your to-do list is always either in your hand or in your head, then don't give up any of those strengths and qualities, but consider really adding to them to be more vulnerable, to be softer, to be more receptive when you choose, so that you can be a more fully expressed human being with more range. And those examples were for a woman listening. For a man, I think I might just do a whole podcast episode on this, because as a man in our society, you are trained to be the leader and disconnect from your emotions. And so if you're connected with your emotions, that's complicated. But if you're disconnected from your emotions, that's complicated. And so really what it means to be a fully expressed man, in touch with all of the qualities you've already developed and giving yourself permission to develop others, and being allowed to just cry in your woman's lap. These are the ways for you to enjoy more passion, because it's in the full range of human expression that the most deliciousness becomes available. And if you're a woman listening to this and you just cringe at the thought of your man crying in your lap, consider what part of you would need to open to give him that permission, especially knowing that he's going to be more available and more present throughout the rest of your relationship if he gets to have access to some more of his own feelings. As I said, I'm going to be interviewing Serdar Hararovich. So if you have questions that you'd like me to ask an incredibly well-rounded man, please send them my way and I'll be sure to include them in the podcast. And in the meantime, be who you really are and play with expanding that so that you can have new experiences in your own body and soul and bring them into your relationship. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, and please leave a rating and a review. And if you're ready to deepen your relationship and create a truly intimate, delicious, and vibrant marriage, head over to the Work With Me page at alexandrastockwell.com and choose the program that's right for you.